Welcome to the GOAT podcast, where we discuss health, integrative health, exercise, and well being. Our guest today is Munal Fajem, a German specialist in kinesiology and mental wellness, and also the owner of Mind Body Dynamics, a company that takes a complete, natural, holistic approach to wellness, and it is based in Bahrain. Welcome, Muna, for being here with us on the GOAT podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's not that you only are a specialized in kinesiology, but you also have over 55 workshops that you do, um, and you do them in different languages: German, Arabic, partially French, I believe. Yeah. How would you describe what you do, and what inspired you to do what you do today?
Okay, what inspired me to do this work is actually a very interesting story. A friend of mine had the third child, 4 years old, not being able to speak. And they had tried every therapy they could think of, and still the child didn't speak. In the summer, as usual, they went to UK, and they had the boy go with his sisters to a summer camp. And within a couple of weeks, he started to speak. And she said, "What is going on here?" That was very surprising. And she went and asked, and they said, "No, we play, we have fun, and we do this and that, and a little bit brain gym." And she said, "Brain what?" And she asked what it is, and there was no course about this. She wanted to learn it in the summer in UK. And when she came back to Saudi, she found out that there was a course in Bahrain. So she didn't want to go alone. So I went with her. And that was the first course we take together in Brain Gym. That was over 20 years ago now.
Wow.
And it was very interesting, very new, very different from anything I could think of. And we completed more and more workshops. And we were really lucky because we had the instructors from all over the world coming to visit Bahrain and teaching their valuable courses to us. So we didn't have to travel in the first place. And then we were one step left to become instructors. And then she said, "I don't stop halfway. And you go with me."
Oh.
So we went together and took our first instructor level in Brain Gym with the founder of this work his name is Dr. Paul Dennison. He developed the Brain Gym program. And after that, I added more and more instructor pieces because I started to love the work. And this is really my calling, my passion.
That's really impressive. And how old was the kid at that time?
The boy who started to speak after a
Yes.
couple of weeks,
Yeah.
he was 4 years old.
4 years.
And they already had done a lot of different therapies, seeing doctors.
Right.
Everybody said he's fine.
Yeah.
And don't worry,
Yeah.
he will talk. But he didn't. And then within a couple of weeks, he started to speak.
So your clients, from my understanding, are not only children.
Oh, no. This work, the kinesiology, is very broad. And there was nobody who was doing this work. So initially I learned it to help my daughter when she was in high school. I wanted to help her to be more at ease with the exams and get a better result in the end.
Right.
You can use it basically for everybody, but because there was nobody doing this in this region, except my colleague and friend here in Bahrain, in Saudi, there was nobody. So I work basically with people of all ages and people of all abilities. And this is also how this work developed. When Dr. Paul Dennison developed the Brain Gym program, it started with a few movements and a few techniques, extending into something called the balance process, and developing more and more workshops. The Brain Gym program now comprises around 75 different workshops. And Some are specializing in business, some are specializing for people with different needs, some are specializing for schools. There's another program for the elderly. There's even one workshop, brain gym for golfing. Can
Oh,
you
is it?
imagine?
Oh,
Yeah. So, and people took it in different areas and they
right.
saw a result in that
Yeah.
areas. So it's very broad.
Right. That's quite interesting. Um, and I've seen on the website that under your company's umbrella, there are few different approaches in your practices. There's the brain gym, and there is uh, the RMTI, which focuses on the rhythmic movement training, and also there's Touch for Health and kinesiology. So where do these kinesiology approaches come from?
Okay. Initially, there was a doctor, George Goddard. He was a chiropractor. And over the years, with practice, try and error, he developed something he called applied kinesiology. And this is the root of the whole work. And I showed you a picture, and you can find it on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So this was supposed to be, and I guess it still is, for medical personnel, for medical professionals.
Right.
So it would mean like people like me or you or parents, they would not be able to learn this work.
Yes.
And one of his colleagues, a fellow chiropractor, said, this work is so good, it's so safe, so beneficial. We should make this available for everybody as a first aid kit, as an empowerment tool for everybody.
Right.
And so he developed the Touch for Health program.
Yeah.
And out of this, which is the second part of this tree, developed many different approaches, many different schools all over the world. For example, you have the PKP program, which is a diploma program. It's recognized by the government in New Zealand.
Right.
And you have wealth kinesiology. There's health kinesiology in UK. There's the brain gym program and many other programs.
So let's start with, for example, brain gym. You mentioned that it's for adults as well as children.
Yes.
But who is it for? Who would actually need it the most, let's say?
You cannot say it this way.
Right.
It started as the idea to help children with learning challenges in schools, or people with reading challenges, or even adults who couldn't read. That was one of the initial goals that Paul Dennison had in the beginning. And then other people came along and said, can I use this for my mother? She's in her 80s. Can I use this for children with different needs? Can I use this in sports performance? And they tried it out and it seemed to work very well.
Right.
And this is how it became bigger and bigger. And out of this, other branches developed when other people brought in their knowledge. For example, our MTI is working with early childhood reflexes, which we address in part in the brain gym program, however, not as specifically like we do in the RMTI, the rhythmic movement program. Yeah. So it's growing into all areas and can be used by basically anyone.
That's very interesting. So I have a question regarding that. Let's say if there's someone who didn't know they have, let's say, challenges in childhood, like learning challenges, and they're adults now. Can we fix that at this stage?
Yeah. First of all, I have to make very clear that this is not a medical program.
Right.
We are not doctors. We don't diagnose. We don't prescribe. We don't fix anything, especially if it's not broken.
Yeah. Oh.
Our teachers always say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Yeah. So we would like to invite the person who comes to say where she or he wants to improve.
Yeah.
What does she want to have or be better after the session? Yeah. So, and of course, if there are sometimes certain issues, it's easier if the child is young and you help the child to improve in certain areas. When you are an adult, the brain has already developed a certain way, and changing that may take a little bit more time, though not necessarily. I mean, I have seen sessions where after one session, a person is able to succeed in her driving license test without any problem, excel in her job interview, overcome the fear of public speaking. And in other areas, maybe we need more than just 1 or 2 sessions. So I cannot really say in the beginning what is the best way to work with something. The things go on and they develop.
So when people come to you, they're already aware of where they want to be and where they are now.
Some of them are. Others come and they say, I'm stuck. Can you help me get out of here?
Right.
And there are ways to question. And one of the things for me that I wanted to improve on was the communication part. And one of my friends who worked at that time in the medical mental health field in one of the bigger companies in Saudi, she said one of her American colleagues was using choice theory and recommending learning this. So we were very lucky. We had one of the trainers come over to Bahrain, and they trained us in choice theory, reality therapy. And my goal for me to join them was to have a better communication skill when I talk to people. And it has changed my whole life, our whole life in the family. And so this is the last pillar of my work. I have the kinesiology courses, which I use in my work, and a lot of them I also teach. However, I dearly love choice theory as an important part because it has influenced and changed so much of our lives as a family, for myself, that I only can wholeheartedly recommend it.
Right. So it's definitely one of the things that you recommend for self-development in the first place.
Yes.
Do you have anything that you can show us that, for example, a before and after from like Brain Gym?
Sure. We have this one here, which was a boy in primary school, grade 2.
Right.
As you see, his handwriting was very labored.
Right.
He made a lot of spelling mistakes. He couldn't write on the line, and his writing would always go down the line. So after the initial meeting, I recommended that they start with a simple brain gym process we call the PACE process, and one movement, which is very famous in brain gym. It's called the Lazy 8.
Right.
And we agreed to meet again in 2 weeks. So the mother brought back a notebook from the boy after 2 weeks where they had done some dictation at that day. And on the other page, you can see the changes that happened by just doing this few simple, fun, and easy to do movements for 2 weeks.
Right.
That is already a big change.
There is a big change, actually.
Yeah.
It seems like a different person.
Yeah. And he started to write on the line. There were no more spelling mistakes.
Yeah.
And the letter spacing was much better. And the teachers were quite surprised because they didn't expect this within that short term.
Yeah. Would you use this approach, for example, for children who have ADHD?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And does it work?
Yes. Although for ADHD and ADD, people often try to use a combination of different things.
Right.
And I don't see my and our work as the sole solution to something. It takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
And that goes for our work as well. Yeah.
Right.
So collaboration with other specialities, this is where we are becoming very powerful.
Right.
Like you, for example, you are in sports business. I wouldn't say I can do things to increase your performance by myself.
Right.
Yeah, we
Yes.
work as a
Yes.
team.
We look at it the whole.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. What's the role of family when it comes to trying to help like a child or even an adult?
I
How
get
how
you.
does that help? Like, you know,
I get
because
you.
sometimes if you're trying to help a child or even like an adult, and the awareness in which the person lives doesn't really help for them to make changes. Do you find it hard to do that in the region? And um, yeah, basically that's the question.
Yeah. Um, I have parents, mothers coming to my classes. Most of the time, it's the parents who have children with different needs, children with Down syndrome, autism, or other physical or mental challenges. So they come, I want to learn this to help my child. And then after a couple of hours, which child? This is for me. And I'm so thrilled to always see the changes a person moves through when she learns the work she wants to use with her child and she
Yes.
changes as a result.
Yes.
So you may have an initial person coming just to learn to help her child, and then this person is changing. And this, of course, is beautiful. And it's obviously much easier to do something if you're on the same page.
100%. And also, like, yeah, they'll be at the same pace, changing together. Right.
Yes. And I had one mother, she works at a very big company in Saudi. And she said, "Oh, this is the first thing I do in the morning when I come to work. And the girls in my department, we do it all together." And when people from other departments come in and they say, "Why are you so happy? The work, the atmosphere is different. What's different? What did you do?" And they said, "We finish our work faster. We
Right.
have less challenges. We are more relaxed.
Yes.
And we have more fun." And it takes a couple of minutes just.
So that's also in the workplace. It has an effect on workplace.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yeah. We have done some trainings for corporates, for companies.
Yes.
And this is the beauty. This work is not only for a certain group of people. You
Absolutely.
can modify it to make it suitable for anybody.
And there is like, let's say, improvement in the in the productivity of the company
In the
itself
productivity.
as a whole.
Yes, or the performance. For companies, for example, I would say, okay, what are your major areas you want to improve? So I do a specialized custom tailored training for this target group. And the same goes also for schools.
Yes.
Because not every school has the same goals or the
Right.
same issues.
Right.
So this is where the specialized trainings come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always adjust it. And if you would go to a gym, for example, and do it for the people who go into a gym, you would again change it to fit the target group.
Do you find it more challenging doing, let's say, group training than doing individual, like one-on-one?
No, because the atmosphere is different in a group.
Right.
And when you train a group, you see some results, and that motivates the others.
Yeah.
I give you one story. When we went to Egypt, we did a training in a place, fourth floor, no elevator. And one of the guys in the group, he was a PE student. He wanted to improve his jumping skill out of standing, not running and jumping, stand.
Yes.
And he said, I can reach 3 meters, I want to reach 5. And I said, okay, maybe you go for 4, to myself. I didn't say anything loud, of course. I said, okay, then do this practice session on this goal. So we did it. And we finished, of course, there was no break until a little bit later. In the break, he went down, and the couple, his colleagues, they went down, and he tested it out. Guess what he jumped?
5?
5 meters, 10 centimeters.
Oh, It's even a
And then
little
they
bit more
came
than.
up, and I said, wow, wow. So I learned to take myself back and not assume something cannot be possible. Everything may happen. Some things may take a bit time. Other times there are surprises.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is that you really you make them see possibilities as well.
Yes, yes.
Right.
And the important thing, it's a self-responsible model, self-responsibility model.
Right.
Okay? The client is the one who decides where she or he wants to go, how far he or she wants to go. I like the word facilitators. We help them to facilitate their growth to the goal they want to achieve.
Right. Moving to the rhythmic movements, how would you describe them?
Rhythmic movement is one of the programs that looks into the development of the early childhood and to the integration of reflexes. There are many reflexes, maybe over 70 or close to 80 reflexes. And some of those reflexes, they develop during pregnancy and right after birth. And the reflex develops, emerges, needs to do a specific job. And once it's done, it integrates. A reflex, everybody knows. When you put a finger into a child's hand, a baby's hand, what will a baby do?
Close.
Close it. Can it do it differently?
No.
No. It has to close the hand, right? However, if I would put my finger into your hand now, would you close it?
No.
Well, if I
Maybe.
wrap some gold around it, maybe, yeah. You have a choice.
Right.
A baby doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So those reactions are involuntary movements that the baby does, and they help to develop the nerve network. They integrate those reflexes, so they do ideally not appear after a certain time. Babies are born with their hands closed into fists, and within a couple of weeks, they should be able to open their fists. Yeah. And I had a beautiful baby girl. She was like, after 3 months, she was like still like this. And we did a couple of the rhythmic movements. In this case, I didn't even do a session. I just saw the baby and recommended to the mother to do 2 or 3 very simple movements. And the movements replicate early childhood movement. A baby does naturally before and after birth to develop the brain.
Yes.
So if the environment is conducive and ideal, then the development would go according to plan.
Right.
Yeah. However, unfortunately, we live in a time where the development most often doesn't go ideally. And I saw one of your previous podcasts with Dr. Tal.
Right.
He spoke briefly about cesarean birth.
Yes.
We could do a whole podcast just about cesarean birth. It's so
That's from
important.
a completely different approach, right?
Yes, yes. And breastfeeding.
Yes.
I mean, just one tiny thing about the baby doesn't breastfeed only to get fed. It breastfeeds. Each time you feed it with the mother's milk, it develops the brain.
Yes. Oh.
Yes, and it develops laterality, which means the awareness of left and right of the body.
Oh.
And you know that the brain, each part of the brain is connected to the opposite part of the body. So when you feed on one side of the brain connects to the opposite side, and when you feed on the other side of the brain connects to the opposite side. Okay? So there are things that should happen ideally, and if they are not there in the place, if they are slightly delayed, then the whole development may not happen according to plan.
Would they affect their? Would it affect them in the future? Like,
Yes.
even if it's delayed and it's unnoticed.
Yeah. So you have the early childhood reflexes and you have the sensory integration.
Right.
And you remember the zipper. You have to they have to close
Yes.
in time.
Yes.
If only one part is not closing,
Yeah.
then the whole zipper is useless. Okay? And you will never reach the top. So obviously, people grow up. They
Yeah.
will not stop to
Yes.
grow. However, they may develop compensation patterns. Yeah? And it may look like everything's okay. And this is when people say, oh, don't worry, he will grow out of it. It looks like it. However, he didn't really grow out of it. Maybe he developed a compensation pattern, which is taxing. It takes a lot of energy. And then at one point, he cannot get this energy
Yes.
to compensate for this unintegrated reflex, for example.
Right.
Yeah. And I look at the person, I look how the person is standing or sitting or moving, holding a pen. Actually, what's the most ideal posture to take a picture? What would every photograph tell you? Have your head to one side. And when you look at the pictures, everybody's doing this to pose, but it's not only to pose, they do it naturally. They have the head
Right.
to the side. Well, this is actually one of the unintegrated reflexes.
Oh.
And it plays a big role into learning challenges. 3 of the reflexes.
So what can cause learning challenges or behavioral, let's say, challenges in children?
Well, the reasons could be many. My side of the explanation is I look for the developmental delays, which is a big word.
Right.
I look what the child can or cannot do. Okay? And you can start very early. I visited a nursery recently and I watched the children move and play. And that already showed me that some of their early childhood reflexes are not integrated. So if the reflexes don't integrate, very likely also some of the senses cannot integrate and develop. So you have 2 things. And there's also the brain as it is with the neurons, it's ready at birth, but the connections are not yet there. So
Right.
based on how you move, you build the connections.
Yeah.
And if you lack movement because you were put in a baby stroller or in a baby seat for too long, too many times, that can cause some delay. Yeah. So there are probably a lot of reasons. So, and I think it's good to educate people about this,
Yeah.
to avoid this in the future. And for those who are already through that age,
Yes.
look into how to help them to improve in their skills through using the work.
Yeah. And can learning challenges in children cause behavioral challenges or like any behavioral pattern that you see in children with difficulties learning, let's say?
They possibly come together if there are a correlation or a cause. That is for the scientific community to decide
Right.
if they can agree on something.
Yeah.
When I see people, so not only children, with learning challenges, quite often there are also behavior changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would, for example, I would look in the reflexes, or I would directly work on a behavior. I don't have a fixed set to go by. So each person is unique, and each person deserves to be treated or worked with as a unique person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So reflexes is one, as I said, ranging with the sessions. Sometimes touch for health is all that. It's another approach that I would do.
And I remember that you mentioned to me that in the Touch for Health approach, you use muscle testing, and that's the feedback that it would give you about the person.
Yes. muscle checking or muscle testing or muscle monitoring is used in many different kinesiology approaches. It's also used in applied kinesiology. However, when we, for example, in Touch for Health would check one of the muscles, we are not checking the integrity of the muscle. The muscle stands for a system, for an organ, for it. The work actually it's based on a combination of the theory of the 5 elements or the meridians from the Chinese traditional medicine combined with the knowledge of chiropractors and osteopaths. So it's a combination. Yeah. So when a muscle is weak, it could be that there's a correlation or connection to some nutrition that you can look into and improve, especially when it's quite often weak. So weak means when we put pressure on a certain limb, and you can hold the limb in that position easily, then the muscle is strong, the muscle is locking. And we would say it's weak or it's unlocking if you cannot easily hold it in place.
Right.
So, and we did, if I
Oh,
showed
yeah,
it to
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then we can, when we see that the muscle is unlocking or not strong, we can see what to do to help it regain his previous state of locking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to, let's say, muscle tension, usually when we have any tension, any muscle, we'll just try to massage it to release the tension. And the last conversation I had with you was completely different. And it's very interesting. I read it somewhere as well, and it is actually interesting, especially in what I do when it comes to like strength training. I can see that. Even like the opposite muscle, let's say if a muscle is weak, it's not because it's weak, because there's a dominant muscle.
Yeah.
And how would you describe that in your practices?
Okay. So imagine you have a discomfort in your left shoulder,
Right.
and you usually, most people are inclined to massage that discomfort,
Yes.
to ease it. Yeah. The theory that was developed by George Goddard was the opposing muscle theory. Now imagine you are working in an office with your friend, let's call her Sarah. And Sarah is quite lazy, but she always puts up an excuse and not appears to work. So you have to do the work for both of you, okay? And with time, you become very tired. So I'm your boss, and I like Sarah. She wraps me around her finger. So what do? Does it help me to say, come on, Haifa, do it, come on, you can do it.
Absolutely not.
Does this make you work harder?
No, no.
Maybe for some time until you break. So what would be the solution? Call Sarah in, have a talk to her,
Yes.
and make her appear to work. So if a muscle is painful quite often, or you have a discomfort, quite often the opposing muscle is the one that is not doing a proper job. And it could be on the opposite shoulder, for example, but it could also be around the knee, because there's a
Yes.
relationship between your shoulder and your knee.
Absolutely.
It could be on another area, okay? And Touch for Health, especially in one area called the reactive muscle balance. When we work on reactives, we balance all those muscles that are not collaborating in the ideal way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that would be great for athletes, I guess.
definitely. Why only athletes?
Because
Are you sitting on a computer for hours?
because they do focus more on the physical.
Oh yeah,
On the
But
performance side.
Definitely it's good for athletes.
Yeah.
However, it's for anybody who is having physical discomfort in any part of his or her
Right,
body.
right.
So when you have a person who who dislikes walking and is not comfortable walking, you can use Touch for Health and look into that part of the work. You could use early childhood reflexes, because if they don't integrate, it may affect also the ability to walk with ease.
Right.
Or you can, if those are not indicated, maybe you do a simple goal balance using Brain Gym or any. Brain Gym, by the way, is just the first one. It's the introductory course.
Yeah.
There are many other courses. So when I say Brain Gym, it's, oh yeah, I heard about Brain Gym. So this is why I use the word Brain Gym.
Right. That's quite interesting. So, is there any exercise that we can show to the audience to help them understand this better?
Okay, good. And to see the benefits of this activity, let's do a little pre-test. We call them
Right.
pre-activity.
Yes.
Okay, are
Let's
you
do
ready?
that. Yes.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, so, and since you were talking about, just a while ago, about discomfort in
Yeah.
your neck, and I think nowadays lots of people have this.
Absolutely.
So let's do something to help all of those.
Yes.
Okay? And to make a double benefit, we also test vision. So those at home, if they don't have a chart like this, you can use any book and just bring it back until you cannot read the bottom half.
Yes.
Okay? So I will use this one for you, Haifa, because
Yeah.
it's definitely small enough.
Right.
So how many lines can you easily see?
4 perfectly. Number 5 is a little bit
Okay, so
weird.
between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those you can get from the internet or those, yeah,
Right.
anything like this. So check how you can, how easily and comfortably you can turn your neck to one side. So turn to one side, look behind you. Also notice what you see behind you.
Right.
How big is your range of vision? And then look to the other side. How easy can you turn your head to the other side? What is the last thing you see in the back of your body? Okay?
Right.
So you bring your head straight, and now we do the activity. In Brain Gym, it's called thinking caps. In Touch for Health, auricular massage. It's used in many different approaches, but the thing is always the same. We massage the ears
Yeah.
all over, as if you want to open them to the top and to the back. Okay, and give it a good rub. Okay. So you can be pretty firm. Tell me, Haifa, are my ears red already?
Oh, yeah, they are.
Okay, then I'm doing it right. So it's firm. It's not painful,
Yes.
however, it's firm.
Yeah.
Yeah? And you do it all over. Because if you remember from the acupressure theory, there are over 400 acupressure points in the body, but they are also in the ear.
Yeah.
So you're actually activating, massaging all those
But
points.
I feel more energized for some reason.
Yes, okay. Good. So, let's check this one again. Do you see a difference between before and after?
Yeah, I can see number 6.
Oh, so you're telling me between 4 and 5, and now you can see number 6 more clearly.
Yes.
That surely is a change.
It is.
Okay. So you want to check your range of movement again?
Sure.
Turn your head to one side and notice any difference. How far can you turn? No, now. What do you see in the back? And turn your head to the other side.
I'll just do it one more time. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I can see more. There's just more range.
You have more range of movement.
Absolutely.
And your peripheral vision has improved.
Yes, and I feel more energized.
Yes, and this is one thing, because one time I forgot to tell my students, this seems to give you more energy. So there's one time of the day you don't want to do this activity, but you guess what it is.
What is it?
Before you go to sleep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, frankly, for me, it replaced coffee.
Yeah.
It gives me so much energy. I'm
Yes.
more focused, more attentive. You saw that it improved your
It did.
vision.
It did.
And looking how people drive,
Yeah.
it improves your peripheral
Yes,
vision.
that right.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
So we could make this mandatory. You want a
Right.
driving license? You need to do this every time
Yeah.
when you go into your car.
Absolutely. Even when you're like tired and you don't think you can, drive.
Yeah.
Not energetically, but maybe, I don't know, like
Yeah.
you're just
And
tired.
you can still have your cuppa a day. However, this one saves you much more
for
money.
sure. What's your approach when it comes to helping people with managing stress?
Okay. Each of the approaches has several different tools and techniques that you can do to manage stress. Stress, for a big part, is also your ability to perceive and to handle stress. So there are two areas that we can work on. Yeah, we change the way you analyze the situation, and this is where the choice theory comes very, very helpful. And the way you handle a situation. Okay, and again, there it depends on the situation, on you, the client, what I would use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you do is basically educational.
Oh yeah,
100%
it is
educational.
an educational process program. An education, the word is very interesting. It comes from the Latin word educare, which means to pull out, which means everything is already there. It's inside you. We just help you. I always tell my students, the diamonds are inside. I just chip away what doesn't belong to the diamond. And for some of the clients and students of the classes, they say that's exactly how it feels. Like you uncover the real cause, the real me, the real core.
So here's the question. Do you believe in the body's ability to heal itself?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I think whatever we do is just supporting the body. And the body does it himself with our help. Yeah.
You mentioned nutrition, the word nutrition only. And what's the impact of nutrition or sound nutrition in your practices?
Nutrition plays a very important role. And we see, for example, when we work with Touch for Health, some of the muscles can test not strong enough if a person prefers to eat certain things in a too large quantity. So changing the nutrition is very helpful. However, that being said, I'm not strict to say go for this or that, because the years in my work have shown me that there is no one size fits all. There are no 3 or 4 they fit everybody, and everybody is unique. And I have seen in the work we are doing, especially when I learned this work, that quite often what I consider as organic or healthy is not necessarily the best choice for the person at a given time. And what I consider unhealthy not always is not good for the person at a given time. So I would always check it with the person, and we discuss it, we check it, and her situation, her life situation, and what goal she wants to achieve.
Right.
So it's not a clear black or white.
So as we all know, supplements complement and complete, let's say, nutrition. What's your view on supplements?
Well, supplements have their place, and I have tested, and that's part of the training in Touch for Health that we do, we test lots of different supplements. And again, the same thing goes for nutrition, that goes also for the supplements. When I did my first Touch for Health course, we had food testing, and the instructor told us to bring also supplements. So we brought lots of stuff from home. Some of it was very good stuff, high quality, organic, natural. And when we tested it, the surprising thing was that it didn't test suitable, energetically suitable,
Right.
for some of the students in our class. So again here, and I remember my husband had a time where he had a health issue where the doctor prescribed some medication, which at that time when I was reading the leaflet was actually contraindicated, because we thought at that time he would have a certain health condition. And it was really challenging. That was the only medication possible that was available. However, because of his health condition, it was contraindicated. And the doctor didn't say anything because we were already home. So I said, come on, I'll test it out. So we tested the first dosage, the muscle stayed strong. He took it, the second, the third, for 4.5 days. After 4.5 days, and I tested each time he was going to take it, the muscle unlocked. It means it was not suitable for his body on an energetic level. And I told him, it seems that at this point, this doesn't suit you at this point. And he also felt better. We went back to the hospital. Of course, we don't do this ourselves. So we went to the doctor, had the test again, everything was clear. So it showed me that even those things who seem to be not good can at times be needed. So
Yes.
I wouldn't stop to go to the doctor.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's always a teamwork, and
Yeah.
there are times where you need medical help.
Yeah, yeah. I remember we just tested 2 supplements, or few actually, before we shoot the podcast, and out of 4, there was only one that's suitable for me.
Yes, yeah.
And,
And one was safe for you to take.
yeah.
However, it would not give you any energetic benefits at this point.
Right.
Okay? I would be happy if chocolate would test always like this.
Always
At
good
least
to have.
it's not bad for me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I just invite anybody to explore it, read more, contact me if you have any questions. It can even be in Arabic.
Yes.
My husband has been so supportive and helpful when I need some translation at times. I do speak Arabic, by the way, so we are here to help.
Thank you, Mona, for being here, and we'll
Thank you for inviting me.
definitely do more work together, and you'll be on the podcast one more time, or maybe more, and talk about more stuff in detail.
Looking forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haifa.